So this is where we left off last time. I want to make you guys aware of something. So if I, for example, wanted to add a red dot here for whatever reason, and then I hit Control Shift and S to save this, and we're going to write over our last image, which is our turnaround JPEG. I'm going to hit OK. Now, if I jump back into Blender, notice that it didn't automatically update the image, right? Any of these reference images, there's no red dot. So if I go in here and hit open and I select my turnaround image, now you can see that red dot. So be aware of that, that not often it doesn't necessarily always update. All right, so let's do a couple things. Let's, in this video, let's knock out the neck and make the hair. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go ahead and hit tab on the head and go to edit mode, and then press 3 and select the neck here. Make sure that you have your this proportional editing on and off. Remember, that's the shortcut O. So we want to turn that off. And then I'm going to press E, and I'm going to go ahead and hit G and then Z and go down. Doesn't seem like, there we go. That's kind of what we want to do. Another way, another shortcut is, okay, so say you hit E and you're moving it around, and you want to get scaling or whatever. If you hold shift and hit spacebar, you can access rotate, scale, and move all this way too. So for example, if I hit shift spacebar and then I just press R, now I'm on rotate, and then so forth for moving. Alright, so I want to move this down, and I'm going to hit the tilde key and go to my front view. And I'm just making sure that it's sort of long enough where I can push it inside of his shirt. I also want to add an edge loop going this way. Now, if you pull this off to the side like this, and you notice that it's separating, make sure in your modifier panel you have clipping on here. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control R again, and I'm going to just add a loop up into the center there. Let's see if we can, I'm going to hit Z and then just go to wireframe so you can see it a little bit better. Maybe solid. Yeah, maybe that's you can see that like that. So it's just this line here. And I like to hit S and then Z and just flatten that out a little bit like this. Same thing, I'm going to select this face and hit S and Z, flatten that out. Now with this line selected, I'm going to hit Alt, holding Alt and left clicking, I can select that ring. I'm just going to hit S and scale that in a little bit. And then I'm going to measure that just sort of in my front view. Something like this, hit Alt Z. It has to go in a bunch more. So I'm going to scale down a ton. And then bring this in as well. So just something like that. I really should define this jaw a little bit better, so I'm going to bring this down and then out just a little bit. I think that's good for now. Like I said, a lot of times, because we're going from 2D to 3D, you might edit things sort of on the fly just because you think it looks better. And this is kind of a nice thing, especially when when you're working with your own character, right? You want to kind of try to see the aesthetics. If you're making somebody else's character, you want to pretty much stay on model. All right, let's work on the hair. So something else I want to point out is notice I'm in edit mode now and I have the head selected. If I hit Shift and A and I create a cube, a couple things happen. One, this cube is now joined to the head. See how this is a separate cube? And you might be wondering, well, why is this smoothed out? Well, what happens is it's not just smoothed out, it's mirrored. Because all of the attributes or the modifiers that we added to our head here are now added to this this thing that's going to represent the suit jacket. So you want to be conscious of that as you're making objects. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Control Z to get rid of that, and then I'm just going to hit Tab and jump to object mode. Then should hit Shift A and just go ahead and make a cube. And now with this, I can hit Control and 1, and I can just add a subdivision that way. And it smooths it out. So I'm going to move that forward and then up. Then I hit S to scale that. And let's hit Alt Z And I'm going to hit Z and just go to solid so we can see this in wireframe mode. Now I'm being very, very cautious in how I am moving this, right? Notice I'm not moving it off of this center axis, right? So if I go to my front view here, notice it's still lined up with the model. All I'm doing is moving it up like this. All right. I'm going to go ahead and hit Control and R. Oh, let's go to edit mode. Sorry. Then I'm going to hit Control and R and add a vertical slice like that, and then just press Enter. And I'm going to go to face mode, pressing 3, and I'm going to go ahead and select half of this and delete it. Now the hotkey is Control and M to add a mirror. Now, if you notice, let me go to object mode and hit Control and M. It's not working for me, right? So you're like, well, why is that? The reason is I upgraded my version of Maya my version of Blender. Sorry, I just recorded a Maya tutorial. And for this specific version, the last version had that as an auto key. So, well, how do you bring that back? Well, if you go to auto add modifier and you right click on mirror and you go to assign shortcut, it says press a key. If I hold Control and M, right? If I go over this now, you can see that the shortcut is Control and M. So I think the shortcut I'm going to go with, initially want to do Control and M, but I think it's taken, is I'll just do Control and plus. So now that if I select Assign Shortcut and I hold Control and I hit plus, now when I go inside of here and I hit Control and plus, you can see that it adds the mirror modifier to the jacket for me. Alright, let's take a look. I'm going to hide the head for a second and show you how to kind of construct the topology for the shoulder region of the jacket. So what we want to do is I'm going to hit Control and R here. Let's go to edit mode. And I'm going to hit Control and R and add a sideways cut like that. Now what you want to do is essentially structure this so the top part of this cube, essentially, or the sphere, is where the neck region's coming in. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to hit S and scale that in. Now notice that it's parting, so I'm going to undo that and I'm going to make sure that clipping is on for mirroring. And I'm going to hit S, scale that in, move that forward, shift space, select rotate, and I'm going to rotate that down in the front view. So it doesn't necessarily have to be complete yet, right? But I'm going to go ahead and hit Control and R. Ooh, I'm sorry. I'm going to hit E to extrude, right? Let's make sure that we are on. Here, let's escape that. Let me just go to move for a second. Hit E to extrude, and I'm going to hit escape and S to scale in that extrusion. And just shift that down a little bit like that. So that's going to represent the pocket that I'm going to eventually bring down to push the neck in. And we could, here, in all honesty, we could just kind of bring that in. So I'm going to hit E, then G, then Z, and then push that G and then Z. There we go. And push that down a little bit. And let's just go ahead and do material preview so you can see that. So that's going to represent the area around the neck, and we're going to scale that down so it better fits it. But I'm exaggerating so you can see it. The next thing I want to do is, in this shoulder area here, is where we're going to construct the area where the jacket is going to come out of. And you know what, let's go ahead and let's go to our front view, and I'm going to go to object mode here. I think that looks pretty good. I just wanted to check it. Alright, so let's select this face here, and I'm going to go ahead and press E to extrude out. And then what I want to do is hit Control and Shift and space, and I'm going to select rotate and just rotate this, and then I'm going to move it up. At this point, I'm pretty sure you guys know how to rotate and scale and all that good stuff, so I will stop with constantly talking about this or repeating how to use the move tools. Alright, so let's move this back a little bit here, and then I really want to thin my character out a good bunch because it's getting a little big. Something like this. Let's grab that front. And we don't, this isn't necessarily going to be a super high poly character. So we want to be conscious of not adding any unnecessary edge loops. So, and we're also, not doing a very good job of working with our reference. So let's make sure that we start to get all this good stuff in here. So keeping that straight, I'm going to throw one loop down here. This is really essentially where the edge of the jacket should go. Throwing another loop this way and just going straight down with that. I'm going to hit Alt and Z. And remember, Alt Z lets us go to our X-ray mode, which will allow us to select the vertices that are behind it. So there's our jacket. And something like this. Let's go to our front view at this point. Let's bring these down. And I'd like to do this globally so I can, when you do it according to local, it's going to, I'll show you kind of the difference. If I select this face and it's now local, if I go global, it does it according to the world axis. If I do this locally, or I do this along the normal, it does it along the face normal. So that's what's, if you see me switching up there, that's the reason why. That's looking pretty good. Now this edge here is going to be where the suit jacket, there's a little bit of a seam of a suit jacket. That's what this is here, right? It's where it kind of cuffs in. And then what we do is we hit E and then S to scale that in a good bunch. And this is where our suit jacket starts to come out of. So I'm just going to hit E and just extrude that out like this. And then I'm just going to flatten that out. So it's looking okay. When we go in here and we really start to tweak it, like we go to our front view here and we start to pull all this stuff in a good amount. Let's pull this down, flatten this out. That's when we'll really start to see the jacket and everything come to life. Let's unhide the head. It's looking pretty cool. Now that we see it in relation to the head, looks like we lost our texture here for the head, or the material switched. So let's see. Let's go to texture paint. And here we'll go to the texture paint setup. It looks like my material got screwed up. Don't worry about the UVs too much. They're going to change. Like, for example, we didn't unwrap that neck, so it's going to change over time. But anyway, for now, that's looking pretty good. We're probably going to have to add a couple more edge loops in here to define the jacket. This video is getting a little long. I know I said I would do the hair and then I jumped to the jacket. Sorry about that. In the next video, we'll work on the hair and keep working on the clothes and all that other good stuff.